What's happening, everybody? I'm telling you what, I made some amazing blueberry preserves yesterday, and right now I need some toast to put it on, okay? Fresh bread never lasts very long here, so I'm constantly gotta make it. It's no big deal, it's what I love to do. All right, so today we're gonna make potato bread, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to get the softest, most perfectly textured bread, either in a loaf, in a bun, however you wanna make it. This is the texture that we're all looking for, that we're all craving, and it starts with just a few potatoes. So what I've got here are a few little Idaho potatoes that I've peeled and rinsed really well, and I want to cut them into small pieces and boil them. So the trick is you want to cut the pieces normally as uniform as possible so that way they cook really evenly, which is still the goal. However, the smaller you cook them, the faster that they'll boil down. And you're just going to smash them up anyway, so don't worry about, uniform pieces like being too perfect or anything like that. We just want some good little diced pieces, just like this, just like that. All right, so these pieces are going to go into a pot that I'm going to fill with cold water just to cover the potatoes, and then we're going to set them to simmer. All right. I've got the last bit of potatoes in the pot already, and you can see the pot is pretty full. Now, here's a good rule of thumb to remember. If it grows above the ground, you can start it in warm water, which means have your water boiling and then go ahead and put your vegetables in. But if it grows below the ground, start it in cold water. Okay. All right, I've got just enough cold water in here to barely cover the potatoes. I'm gonna set them on medium-high heat and let it come up to temperature and just start boiling away. As soon as these potatoes are tender, I know they're gonna be ready. So let's go ahead and put it on the fire. Always season your food. So I've got nice kosher salt right here. And I put in about half a tablespoon. And here's where a lot of people, this is where they fall flat, okay? Nobody tastes the water. Taste the water. It should just be salty, like the ocean, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a stir. Give it a taste. It needs a little bit more. So I'll go another teaspoon. That should do it. Much better. All right, so we're gonna let that simmer. We're gonna let that go ahead and boil and let this potato soften up, and then we're gonna come right back to it. My potatoes are done cooking. Here they are, right there. See? So what I need to do now is reserve half a cup of the starchy potato water, and we're gonna use this in the bread, and it just makes it that much more just soft. Okay. Half a cup starchy potato water right there. And then there's a little bit of water here in the bowl, but that's okay. I'm gonna just top it off. It's just a few little drops. It's not gonna hurt anything. So just set that aside, and now I only need 1 1/3 cup of finely mashed sweet potatoes, and this actually looks like more than 1 1/3 cup. So I'm just gonna scoop out some of the potatoes here with my strainer, drain as much of the water out as possible, and put it in this bowl to smash up. There we go. That looks like a pretty good start. Okay, so this guy's gonna stay back over here. Now, my potato masher. There we go. So we're just gonna mash this up really, really well. I'm not gonna add any butter. I'm not gonna add any cream. I just need super solid mashed potatoes. That's it. Okay, another option too is that if you don't want to use a potato masher, you can always use a fork, because these potatoes are so tender and so soft that you can get a really good mash with a fork. Really nice. Look at this, super creamy. See? Solid mashed potatoes. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, set this aside to cool for a moment while we get the rest of our ingredients together. Okay, so I've got the rest of my ingredients right here. I've got 3 1/4 cups of flour right here. I've got 2 eggs. I've got my salt, a tablespoon of yeast. I've got some butter, and I've also got a little bit of sugar. So, now, can't forget my starchy potato water too. Right here. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're going to combine our dry ingredients. So I have my flour. I'm gonna put a tablespoon of yeast right there. I'm going to put half a teaspoon of salt, because remember our potatoes are salty too, so we don't want to overdo it on the salt. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar right there as well. All right, all this is going to go aside, and I'm going to mix this up. Okay, so now that I've got all my dry ingredients mixed up, I'm going to go ahead and add in my starchy potato water right here. Give that a little swirl. 1 egg. And we're just going to start mixing it all up. It's going to get real dirty, but it's going to be really fun, I promise. The dough is going to look really, really shaggy. You can see right here. Don't worry, it's going to come together in one of the smoothest pillows that you've ever seen. You're going to be so impressed you made it yourself. Okay, now to the shaggy mess, I'm going to go ahead and work in 3 tablespoons of butter. So softened butter, you can also add melted butter if you want, but I just like to work in softened butter. Let's see here, it's a tablespoon. There we go. Like that. There we go. Okay, so here's where the fun part really comes into play. Change angles a little bit so I can get some more workspace. What we're going to do now is taste potato. Okay, here's where the magic happens. So you have this really shaggy dough. I mean, it's looking pretty rough, right? We're going to soften all of that up with the potatoes. So we're going to put in 1 1/3 cup of potatoes. So there's 1. Okay, so 1 1/3 cup of potatoes. The rest of the potatoes like this, don't worry about it. You can turn it into latkes. You can, serve it mashed with gravy later on if you have a little baby. Smash it up really well and feed it to the baby. They're going to love it. All right, so we're just going to work this into the dough. And it's going to be so supple. You're just going to seriously trip out over it, because nobody can ever believe that this dough, that this bread is made with potatoes. Okay, I've got it really well incorporated into the bowl. So now I'm going to move this out of the way and knead it a little bit more on the counter. That way I get the flour and the potatoes and the butter really super well mixed in together. All right, so our dough is going to get a little sticky, but that's okay because I'm going to add just a little bit more flour. Just going to add a little flour to my work surface, and that's going to smooth it out really, really nicely. Okay, so now we have a nice smooth ball of dough, and what I want to do is get a little olive oil and oil up my bowl really well. Okay, put it down on one side, give it a spin, flip it over, kind of toss it around a little bit like that. We're going to cover this with plastic wrap and let it sit for 1.5 hours until it's doubled in size. Here we are 1.5 hours later, and I've got this beautiful, big, puffy bowl of bread. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to uncover it first of all, just like that. Oh, and you can see all of the beautiful bubbles and air pockets that were made into it just by letting it sit for 1.5 hours at room temperature. So what I'm going to do now is take a little bit of flour, just a little handful, and just sprinkle it on my clean countertop, and I'm going to go ahead and get the bread out of it. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to kind of laminate the bread, and all that is essentially folding one part over the other. So I simply pound it out into a rectangle like this. I take one end and I fold it over into the middle. I take another end and I fold that one over the top. Turn it 90 degrees, pound it out again, just gently roll it out. Get another little pinch of flour, just a little bit. Just pat it really nicely. And again, fold in thirds over and over. And this is still keeping a lot of the air that was incorporated, that was made by the yeast, it growing and expanding in there. So I'm going to roll it out again. Another tiny little sprinkle of flour. Pat it out. And one more time. Okay. So now that I've got this nicely laminated, I'm going to just roll it back and forth on my work surface. and eventually shape it into a log, into a really nice log that's going to fit beautifully in my pan. Now I have one of these Wilton pans. It's kind of long. It's much longer than a normal bread pan, a bread loaf pan, but as you can see, this is the perfect size for it, for my bread. So I'm going to take some olive oil and generously oil my pan. Use my hands and get in there, all of the nooks and crannies, all of the corners really, really well. Smear it all over the sides, the bottom of the pan too. Here we go. All right. So I have my pan oiled, my bread is ready. I'm going to take it and just place it into my pan like this, kind of tuck it in a little bit. See, check it out. This is so exciting. I love this so much. So I'm gonna take my paring knife and I just want to make a slit right down the center of the bread. I don't want to go all the way to the end here, to the end on the other side, but simply just down the middle, leaving about an inch border on each side. So you can see the line right here. All right, this is going to sit here for about 30 to 45 minutes, basically while my oven preheats to 350 degrees. And we're going to let this rise again, get a little puffier, and then we're going to bake it, and we're going to have this amazing soft pillowy potato bread that's just going to blow your mind in less than an hour. You're going to see, and you're going to love it. Okay, so it's been about 45 minutes, and look at this big puffy loaf of bread. It's beautiful. All right, my oven is preheated to 350 degrees. It is ready to rock. I'm going to go ahead and take off my plastic wrap very gently. There we go. Now, I want to get a beautiful golden brown crust, like a really pretty rich golden brown color on my bread. So I'm going to take one egg and scramble it up just a little bit. I want to whisk it really well, or fork it, or just mix it up really well. There we go. And I'm going to brush it very gently over the top of my bread. And it's going to give it just a much more golden brown color and a little bit of a richer flavor. Just brush it really gently, really well, all over the top of the bread. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so this is a really big loaf. Like I said, it's an oversized pan, but this is a lot of bread. So it's going to go into the oven on the center rack for 35 minutes. And in 35 minutes, it's going to be even puffier and golden brown and delicious and just the best air freshener that your house could ever have going in right here. The timer just went off, and I'm so excited because the smell has just got me just so worked up. I have to get this bread. Look at how amazingly gorgeous and beautiful that loaf is. Do you see the golden brown color on there? Do you see it? Oh, I wish you could smell it. There's nothing like the smell of fresh baked bread. Look at that. Gorgeous, puffy, pillowy potato bread right here. Okay, so we're going to set this on a wire rack, and I like to turn my loaf sideways so that way it can fall just a little tiny bit and get some air inside the side of the pan to start to cool it down even more, a little bit faster. So we're going to let this cool, and oh my gosh, we're just going to let this tease me a little bit longer before I can come and cut right into it. Okay, got it. I'm so excited. I'm so very excited. I've got my knife, I've got my board, I've got my butter and my jam. I'm ready. Okay, so here it is. This beautiful, lovely, luscious, pillowy potato bread. Oh my gosh. So you're going to see it comes out really easily. Look at that, how nicely, beautiful, golden brown it is on all sides. Here we go. Get this guy out of the way. Thank you very much. You've served your purpose. And now on to the good stuff. Here we go. Watch. Make it as close as we can. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and slice. You can hear the crackle of the crunch. Look at this. That pillowy goodness. I have to cut a couple more slices here so you can just see how soft. You look at this texture. Now this is the texture of a perfect sandwich bread right here. This holds up. The starches in it just make it so supple and so wonderful. It smells so buttery and sweet. I cannot wait to dig into this, in which I'm not waiting anymore. So here we have some of my blueberry jam that I made just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and you can see it's not lasting in the fridge very long. It's just that good. Super simple recipe. I can get it open. Oh, here we go. Fresh blueberries, a squeeze of lemon juice, 2/3 cup sugar, and that's it. All right, this is gonna go on the spoon. So go right onto the bread, just like that. Oh my God. Pillowy, soft. The structure of the bread is really strong, and you can see that, the integrity of the bread, because it's just not falling apart, it's not crumbling, it's not dry. It's completely baked all the way through, and it's holding up to the weight of these blueberries. This is the kind of bread that you can make at home, that you need for all of your sandwiches, for French toast, for stuffed French toast. You can even go ahead and break up the dough into balls and make the world's best hamburger buns with this dough recipe. So I implore you, please make the potato bread. Okay, you're gonna love it. Your family's gonna love it. This is gonna be the last bread that you're ever gonna wanna make for sandwiches forever. I promise you that. Try it on hamburger buns. Try it as a hamburger bun. It's phenomenal. You're just gonna be so amazed at what a few little potatoes can do for a loaf of bread. Okay guys, Kitchen Bravo's got you covered. I'm gonna go ahead and eat the rest of this bread. I'm gonna get a little help because I'm not gonna be that greedy tonight, but blueberry jam is mine. They can have some of the bread. I'm gonna go ahead and manja. Buon appetito.